Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hare Guruvayurappa Saranam. Dasagam 91 of Narayaneeyam is named Bhakti Mahatwam, that is, path of devotion. The contents of this chapter mostly is linked to Bhagavatam Ekadasam slokas, that is, the 11th skanda of Bhagavata. The superiority of devotion as a method of attaining God is brought out in this chapter by the poet Sri Bhattadiri. We will see the slokas with meanings now. श्रीकृष्ण त्वत्पदोपसनमभयतमं बन्धमिथ्यार्थदृष्टेः मर्त्यस्यार्थस्य मन्ये व्यवसरति भयं येन सर्वात्मनैव यत्तावत् त्वत्प्रणीतानिह भजनविधि नास्तिदो मोहमार्गे धावन्नप्यावृताक्षः स्खलति न कुहचित् देवाखिलात्मन्. O Lord of Lords, Soul of all beings, Lord Krishna, for a human being who has deep-rooted identification with his own body and hence the notions of I and mine, and who as a result experiences sorrow, worship of thy lotus feet is the best way out. By devotion to thee, all fear will disappear completely. One who practices the methods of worship taught by thee in the Bhagavata, Gita, etc., will not slip even if he runs along the world's path of delusion with eyes closed. That is, the body, mind, and everything in this world is Maya. They have no absolute reality. Brahman alone is real. By wrong identification with the body and possessions, the notions of I and mine arise. These are the root cause of all sorrow and fear. Here, the I's mentioned here are the Shruti and Smriti. The idea conveyed here is that if one has firm devotion, he will be able to extricate himself from the effects of delusion, even if he doesn't strictly conform to the injunctions of the scriptures. भूमन् कायेन वाचा मुहुरपि मनसा त्वद्बलप्रेरितात्मा यद्यत् कुर्वे समस्तं तदिह परतरे त्वय्यसामर्पयामि जात्याभिगस्वभागस्त्वयि निहितमनः कर्मवागिन्द्रियार्थ प्राणो विश्वं पुनीते न तु विमुखमनाः त्वत्पदाद्विप्रवर्यः. O Supreme Being, whatever I do with body, speech and mind, prompted by thy power in the form of vasanas, all that I dedicate to thee, the Supreme Being, who art before me here as Lord Guruvayurappa. In this world, even a person of low birth sanctifies the whole universe if his mind, actions, etc. are all dedicated to thee, but not a person whose mind is turned away from thee, even if he be of noble birth. बीदिर्नाम द्वितीयाद्भवति ननु मनः कल्पितं च द्वितीयं तेनैक्याभ्यासशीलो हृदयमिह यथा शक्तिबुद्ध्या निरुन्ध्यां मायाविन्धेदु तस्मिन् पुनरपि न तथा भाति मायातिनाथं तं त्वां भक्त्या महत्या सततमनुभजन् ईश भीतिं विजह्याम्. Fear comes from the consciousness of a second that is different from oneself. Such consciousness is only a creation of the mind. Therefore, with the help of my discriminating intellect, I shall constantly practice the consciousness of oneness and fix my mind on such consciousness. But when that mind, overpowered by Maya, moves away from that consciousness of oneness, I shall, by worshipping thee, the controller of Maya, with intense devotion, get rid of all fear. That is, the whole world is nothing but the non-dual Brahman. All duality is the result of beginningless ignorance of the reality. भक्तेरुत्पत्तिवृद्धि तव चरणजुषां सङ्गमेनैव पुंसाम् आसाद्ये पुण्यभाजां श्रिय इव जगदि श्रीमदां सङ्गमेन त्वल्सङ्गो देव भूयात् मम खलु सततं त्वन्मुखादुन्मिषद्भिः त्वन्माहात्म्यप्रकारैः भवति च सुदृढा भक्तिरुद्धूतपापा. Just as wealth is obtained in this world by association with wealthy persons, devotion arises and grows for people who have performed good deeds. By association with thy devotees alone, oh Hare, may I always have such association, that firm devotion which effaces all sins arises as a result of listening to thy glories, which are sung by such devotees. For devotion to arise, one must have performed good deeds in past lives. श्रेयो मार्गेषु भक्तावधिकबहुमतिर्जन्मकर्माणि भूयो गायन् क्षेमाणि नामान्यपि तदुभयतः प्रद्रुतं प्रद्रुतात्मा उद्यद्यासः कदाचित् कुहचिदभिरुदन् क्वापि गर्जन् प्रगायन् उन्मादिव प्रनृत्यन् अयि कुरु करुणां लोकबाह्यश्चरेयम्. Preferring the path of devotion among the various paths of liberation, singing continuously thy names and the narrations of thy incarnations and deeds which confer good, I shall move about with my mind thoroughly melting with devotion, sometimes laughing loudly, sometimes crying, sometimes roaring, sometimes singing loudly, dancing like a madman, and without any regard for the normal conventions of the world. O Hare, have compassion on me. भूतान्येतानि भूतात्मकमपि सकलं पक्षिमत्स्यान् मृगादीन् मर्त्यान् मित्राणि शत्रूनपि यमिदमदिः त्वन्मयान्यनमानि. त्वल्सेवायां हि सिद्ध्येत् मम तव कृपया भक्तिदार्ढ्यं विरागः त्वत्तत्त्वस्यावबोधोऽपि च भुवनपदे यत्नभेदं विनैव. I shall salute with one pointed mind the 5 elements, the birds, fish, animals, human beings, friends, enemies, and everything composed of the 5 elements, looking upon them all as thy forms alone. O Lord of the universe, by the worship of thee alone, I shall, by thy grace, attain firmness of devotion, detachment, and the knowledge of that the whole universe is thyself alone. without having to make separate efforts to get each of these three results. Just as with each morsel of food, one gets appeasement of hunger, enjoyment, and strength, all at the same time. No muhyan shutrudadhyaihi pavasaranibhavaihi त्वन्निलीनाशयत्वादे छिन्दासादत्यशाली निमिषलवमपि त्वत्पदादप्रकम्पः इष्टानिष्टेषु तुष्टिव्यसनविरहितो मायिगत्वावबोधात् ज्योत्स्नाभिस्त्वन्नखेन्दोः अधिकशिशिरितेन आत्मना सञ्जरेयम्. I shall not be overpowered by hunger, thirst, etc., which are caused by samsara, since my mind is always absorbed in thee. Always meditating on thy lotus feet, my mind not moving away from them, even for a moment, I shall be free from joy and sorrow. Whether things are favorable or unfavorable, realizing that they are all merely effects of Maya and so not real. I shall move about with my mind well cooled by the light of the moon of thy toe nails. उदेष्वेषु तद्वैक्यस्मृति समधिगतौ नाधिकारोऽधुना चेद् त्वत्प्रेम त्वत्कमैत्री जडमतिषु कृपादित्सु भूयादुपेक्षा अर्चायां वा समर्चा कुतुकमुरुदरश्रद्धया वर्धतां मे त्वल्संसेवि तथापि द्रुतमुपलभते भक्तलोकोत्तमत्वम्. If I am not now fit for the attainment of the consciousness of non-difference between thee and all these beings, let me have love for thee, friendliness towards thy devotees, kindness towards the ignorant, and freedom from enmity towards enemies. Or may eagerness to worship thee in an image grow in me. He who worships thee in this manner also quickly becomes the foremost among devotees. There are three kinds of devotees, and these are described in Bhagavatam Ekadasa, 2nd chapter. आवृत्य त्वल्स्वरूपं क्षितिजलमरुदाद्यात्मना विक्षिवन्ति जीवान् भूयिष्ठकर्मावलि विभशगदीन् दुःखजाले क्षिबन्ति त्वन्माया माभिभून्माम् अयि भुवनपदे कल्पते तत्प्रशान्त्यै त्वत्पादे भक्तिरेवेत्यवददयि विभो सिद्धयोगी प्रबुद्धः. May thy Maya, which conceals thy real nature and projects this world made up of the 5 elements, namely earth, water, air, etc., and which pushes all embodied souls into sufferings resulting from their actions in innumerable past lives, not overpower me. O all-pervading Lord of the universe, devotion to thy lotus feet can alone overcome that Maya. So did the great yogi Prabuddha tell Videha. This Prabuddha and Videha conversation is in Bhagavata 11th Skanda, 3rd chapter. दुःखान्यालोक्य जन्तुष्वलमुदित विवेकोऽहमाचार्यवर्याद् लब्ध्वा तद्रूपतत्त्वं गुणचरितकथाः उद्भव भक्तिभूमा मायामेनां तरित्वा परमसुखमये त्वत्पदे मोदिदाहे तस्यायां पूर्वरङ्गः पवनपुरपदे नाशया शेषरोगान्. हरे गुरुवायूरप्पा. Acquiring sufficient discrimination by seeing the sufferings of all beings, I shall get knowledge about thy true nature from a great Guru. I shall cross over this Maya with intense devotion resulting from my listening to the accounts of thy glories and deeds. May I thus enjoy bliss at thy lotus feet. For that, all this is the preliminary step. O Lord of Guruvayur, deign to remove all my afflictions. Here, the discrimination arises from the realization that this world is full of sorrow and that it cannot give permanent happiness. Then the seeker goes to a guru. Devotion arises as a result of listening to the accounts of the Lord's glories from the guru. These are the preliminary steps before self-realization and the attainment of liberation. With this sloga, we have completed the Daskam 91 of Narayaneeyam, and now we will listen to a bhajan song from Sati Suresh.
Krishna Kanha Mukunda Manohara Ananda Kanda Ghanashyama Sundara Krishna Kanha Mukunda Manohara Manamohana Muralidhara Manamohana Muralidhara Natvara Giridhara Gopala Krishna Kanha Mukunda Manohara Jagadishwara Karunakara Jagadishwara Karunakara Keshava Madhava Gopala Krishna Kanha Mukunda Manohara.